Hi, I'm Tristan Martin from TL Martin Limited, and I want to talk to you today just quickly about scam emails and how to spot one that's going around at the moment that could catch your staff out. And if they catch your staff out, it could easily cause you a data breach. So over the next few minutes, I'm just going to go through one that's actually arrived in the inboxes for quite a few people today. So here we are. I've had an email through today, and it's come up with shared docs online, shared with TL Martin, with, it's just a title. And people can fall for it easily because if you look at it from an employee point of view, TL Martin, HR has shared files with you. Employees are going to be going, oh, it's HR. I must deal with that because HR is important. That's to do with my job. And especially if your business has been talking about HR at the moment. Most of these sorts of scams rely on the basis that the people they'll catch out is where it seems relevant. So if you've had a conversation over the last week about maybe a change in your HR, company contracts, employee manual, company manual, all those sorts of things, that's going to be remembered in the minds of your employees. And therefore, they're going to be expecting to receive something. So immediately they're going to look, oh, look, it's there. And look, it's even got the company logo on there. And then it's just saying, can you scan the QR code to view the document? This is how it's getting past a lot of filters because some software will go, oh, well, it's going to a dodgy place. We'll reject it. But actually, this one doesn't. It just includes a picture, a QR code. And by having that QR code there, it doesn't need to have a link to anywhere to go. And look, it's got Microsoft's logo. So it really gives the idea that it's come from SharePoint and your systems on there. Okay, so that's how people end up falling for it because there is no suspicious links in there. There is actually no link in the email whatsoever. There's a QR code image, which it's asking you to scan. It's saying there's some new documents that you need to deal with, which again makes sense because people would take that to their personal device. It's got the company logo on it. Of course, your company logo is everywhere. It's on your website. It's on, my logo is just at the top of the screen there. What it comes back to is that continual security awareness training to your staff. In fact, a lot of cyber insurance policies state, do you have security awareness training ongoing for your staff? And if you say no, a lot of cyber insurance companies won't even cover you because it's about keeping them aware. This is a really easy scam to stop in its tracks straight off. The email address. Looking straight up there at the top, this has come from KarenWestPR.com. So what the hell is a PR company doing sending HR documents to my staff, to my employees? Or if you're an employee looking at it going, what is a PR company doing sending HR documents to me? So nice and simple with that. But it's very easy that bit gets missed because suddenly there's an urgency below. And it's to say, especially if you've been if you've been talking about HR recently with your employees. So that's where it'll catch them out. So first thing, a key step to always go through is make sure when they're looking at emails, when staff are looking at emails, they're looking at that email address. Where has it come from? Where has it come from? What is the email address? Does that have anything to do? Now, of course, I've got a webinar coming up shortly about spoofed emails and the new DKIM DMARC changes. But I'm going to show you what would happen if a member of staff actually followed it, because this is really clever. And you might think, well, hang on, if they follow it, what's going to normally happen? It's going to take them to a Microsoft 365 page for them to log in. I've got the background changed. I've got a little bit of a logo on mine. There's all sorts of things put into place to try and remind staff whether it's a legitimate place or not. One, people forget. People miss those sorts of things. But even on that, this type of attack is what's known as a man-in-the-middle attack. So if you scan it with a QR code, again, the next step. So if you've missed that first step of what on earth is KarenWestPR.com doing any part of HR for my business or for my boss's business, then the next things that we need to look at. Number one, the QR code. Look where it's going. Downmall365.com. That is nothing to do with Microsoft. We can ignore that. It's absolute rubbish. It means clearly there's a scam because it's not going to Microsoft. It should be going to Microsoft Online, or it should be going to office.com. Okay, so next thing on to there If you follow that through and go to it, it takes you to this place. And it takes you through, it does a Cloudflare verification that you're a human being. All of these things actually make it seem more and more legit. So if I'd have video recorded the whole process, you'd have seen Cloudflare did a check on the actual, that I'm a human. It's checking me out, the person it's trying to scam. But okay, it's gone on. And not only that, it's brought up. Now, how could it possibly know that I not only have a work account with that email, but I've also got a personal account with that email? Because this is what's known as a man-in-the-middle attack. What's actually happening is, when I've clicked on that link, it is trying to log in to myoffice.com. And it is relaying the screen that they see back to me. But again, look at the top here. Look at this part at the top. That shows the web address. That's nothing to do with Microsoft. I mean, aek9gzhzwls.ogcfwt.pw and whatever the rest of it is. That's not Microsoft.com. That's not Microsoft Online. That's not Office.com. That is not a legitimate place for logging into. So, clearly, it's fake. But I wanted to be nosy a bit more. So I'm going to click on that link and see where it takes me. And this is how I know it's a man-in-the-middle attack. Because I've been playing about with some of the security things, because you can put some graphics on site on your Microsoft. So it doesn't just have Microsoft's logo, which is generic. You can have a wallpaper in the background. You can have a little bit of text there. As you can see, I haven't really done anything creative with that. But actually, I might put a line on there to say, check the web address as a reminder. And it's got my company logo at the top, asking me to enter password. What would happen if I did that? I'd enter the password. They would get a copy of the password. They would submit that password request correctly into the Microsoft website. Microsoft would then ask for my MFA code. So it would ping my phone with the authentication to log in. And the screen would show that. And it would present a number that I've got to type into my phone. So I'd type that into my phone and it would approve it. That would log me in and log the hacker into my account. They would then have a token where they are logged in. You notice when you go to Office, when you're changing web pages and stuff, when you're moving around, you don't have to keep logging back in every time you open up a page. It's because the browser session remembers you have authenticated. Well, we would be authenticating the hackers, the scammers' computer into Microsoft as well as our own, which means we're both in. They've now got free reign under what I can do, what my permissions can do, which of course, as a business owner, I can access my data, my emails. My data obviously contains my client's data and so forth. So that's the thing that falls for. Now, if it was a member of staff, what can they access? Again, they'd have a lot of access to client stuff. And if your member of staff did it and they had access to a load of client data, that's your data breach. So Monday morning, you're going to be reporting to the ICO. You're going to be doing the check. Even though you've got MFA on, they've managed to get around it. If you haven't got MFA on, it's just a password straight in. That password they'll also start using elsewhere. But they'll be contacting your clients. So on Monday, you'll be contacting your clients to say, there's been a data breach. I'm sorry. The embarrassment on that side, let alone what ICO can do with a 4% fine. So this is why it's always important to do that continual training, continual reminders. Just because you told them 2 years ago, do not expect them to remember it today. So that has to be a continual part of, there has to be a continual training plan that keeps reminding staff on to watch out for, where to check on those scams. Because all of that can be stopped right here. Because who the hell is Karen West PR? Why are they sending me HR documents? Bang, stop. Do nothing at that point. Second thing is, there's no documents going to come through the QR code. Scammers are using that. But the trouble is QR codes are a bit of a buzzword or buzz sort of tool at the moment. And people will scan QR codes just because there's a QR code. Because they don't think there's anything that can happen from it. Okay. Now, is this a spoofed email? Is this a scam email? Well, it's a scam email, but is it a spoofed email? Or is it that Karen West's PR has been hacked? Because we've spoken about spoofed on a lot of my posts in the past, because DMARC helps stop spoofed emails, because it means that if the email doesn't come from a correct authenticating server, that it will fail. Whereas when a lot of internal security for places, you'll let things through because, you know, we all want our emails. We don't want to miss out anything from a client, a possible client coming in. whereas the DMARC stuff makes sure that we control what we send out. So onto here. Here is the scan. So I took that email and I looked at the header. So when an email sends out, there's a load of hidden text at the very top that actually says it's a journey. It's like it's sat nav. It tells you the entire journey from where it was sent all the way to where it's received. And in this case, it's actually been sent by one-on-one Ionos, one of the two, because they use a Perfora net as a mail relay. So it's actually passed that. It's gone into Outlook. It's then dealt with the Outlook internal. So it's actually come from a correct server, which is why it's passed the SPF check and the SPF authentication. So this actually means that Karen at KarenWestPR.com has likely given a password away or had a password stolen, or they've managed to work out what a password is. Because if her emails are coming from Ionos or one-on-one, there isn't two-factor authentication. This is one of the key points of why two-factor authentication on your systems are so important. We need to stop using IMAP email, using things like Ionos, FastHost, 123Reg, those email systems. IMAP, they just have username and password. We need to be getting MFA on our systems. If you were to go for Cyber Essentials, one of the core requirements is MFA onto systems that hold data, and your emails hold data because they hold the emails you receive from clients plus the emails you've sent to clients. So MFA is essential on emails, and the only two places that do that are your systems like your Office 365, your Microsoft 365, or your Google Workspace, your G Suite. They are the systems that have that bit more into it, but standard IMAP does not have MFA on there. There's some systems like BT and some of the others, which, okay, for home users, they tend to come out with app passwords and think, still, it's an app password. Otherwise, they make you log through their web browser to deal with emails. But IMAP generally doesn't. So that's where you want to be on a professional email service. So, okay, so that is showing it's gone through. So there's nothing we could really do to stop that email coming out because it's going to be genuine. It's come from the place, or when I say genuine, it's come from a genuine server. It's come from an authorized place to send the email, which shows that person been hacked. So even with security and things that are put into place, we still have to remember other places can be hacked. But just to go through as well, I can see all that. Part of our tools that we look at, we can see that those two servers, the Kunden server and the Perfora, they are both Ionos one-on-one because they are sort of more of a German-based company, and those other servers are allowed to send the emails. And that person's also allowing Google. The other thing is they've set what's called a soft fail. That means if the email comes through and it didn't pass those things, you're saying to the servers, if they had some security, I don't actually know all my email settings, so actually just let it through if someone claims to be from me. On my website, one thing I do recommend people do is check their DMARC and DKIM and SPF. Again, a lot of my posts you've seen over the last month have been about that because there's been lots of email changes. And just to give an example onto here, this is what has gone through for the Karen West PR. So from here, and this is all public information, this is all information that anyone can get on the net. BIMI, as I've said on a number of things, don't worry about it. It's only being supported by a couple of places and it costs about $1,200 to $1,500 to sort of set up and the rest. The SPF record shows they have an SPF set up. It's spot on. It's their server, the Ionos, and also Google's allowed to send on their behalf. They're possibly receiving their emails in Google Gmail as a way of viewing their emails. So like you would use Outlook on your desktop, they're using Gmail as an application to receive emails from Ionos. But it's still there. The DKIM. They have not, even though it shows DKIM is set up, they are not digitally signing the emails going out. A lot of IMAP service, some of them will, some of them won't. The DKIM, the one they've got set up there, is what's known as S1. That's SendGrid's key. So I can see here that they use a SendGrid system for sending out marketing emails and so forth. That's been authenticated. So just because the DKIM's all green doesn't mean all emails are being signed, which is why it only had passed the SPF and not the DKIM, because it's only the marketing emails that get DKIM signed there, not their actual ones from Ionos. They have a DMARC set up there. They could say, I've got DMARC set up, I've done it, look. But actually what the DMARC record here is so if you've got one on there, there's a lot of lot of times this is completely blank. Some web hosts will add it in the record, and they will add this one. What it says is, I've got DMARC, but I don't want, there's nothing, I'm not inferring any rules. DMARC is where you would sort of say, if the email didn't come from one of my authenticated servers, you reject it. In none, it tends to be in a monitoring mode, except with this, there's no place for the emails to go back to. So this actually doesn't have much on the monitoring to report back to them. It's going to be a byproduct of just with the hosting provider has put that record in. It won't offer any protection. So while it's on amber, it's actually doing nothing. That's why it says P equals none. Policy is none. Just do whatever you would do normally. But in this case, the email would have got through anyhow because the email has come from a genuine mailbox. Okay, and that's why it's important to work with your IT to make sure those things are locked down and get yourself on proper systems, because you don't want your clients making a mistake and falling for any of those anything, well, falling for a scam. Because what would happen is if the person you're receiving fell for that scam, your email would be hacked and your email would then be sending out to all your clients and contacts, hoping to catch one of them as a fallover. So that's all that's happened in this place. It would be a case of Karen's received that email, probably the same one as we've received, which is all about the email being, about HR documents. She's possibly scanned it. She's possibly given a password away. She would have tried to log into her office. It would have failed because she doesn't use her email for her office email, but her password's now been stolen and possibly tried somewhere else. Or it's come up on a dark web scan, something like that. But someone has got into her mailbox. And therefore now an email from a legitimate place is coming out, which people are going to catch her. But because it's structured to have the logo, and this has only taken a few minutes. I've seen 3 of these for 3 different companies this morning alone, each with that company's logo. It doesn't take the scammers much to work that out. So each with that, they've got the sort of the basic outline of the company name. Generally, that's the domain name, because obviously my domain name is TL Martin as one word. So they've taken the first word for your domain name and put it in there. Please review, sign the documents immediately. It's just going to catch them out. If they go there, they'll end up giving their Office 365 login away. And then, of course, if you use that for your email, that would go out. So, yeah, make sure things are locked down. Make sure staff are continuously trained to watch, because this is stopped in its tracks just up there. Checking that email address out of who sent it. And 3, make sure you've got MFA on systems that contain your clients' data and your business data. Hopefully that's been of help. If we can do anything to help anybody, please don't hesitate to get into touch. Here's our contact details just up on the board, on the screen. Have a great Sunday, and yeah, anything we can do, drop a line or any questions.